Hello, welcome. I'm Laura.
I'm Darcy.
I am Faith.
Oh, and that is on there.
Fresh Film Friday. Laura's
Yeah.
phone's talking to us because we want to make sure we can hear your comments as we're talking today.
Yes. So, what are your phrases or words for Paterson?
So yeah, we just finished watching Paterson. I would say observant. It feels like a very observational film. You kind of get to be inside of somebody's head.
Mm-hmm. To me, it felt like reflective poetry.
And I'm going to say waterfalls, but you'll have to watch the movie to see that. So,
Yeah, I really enjoyed the film. It was a very different film experience as far as its quietness. It felt very quiet. I love not everything that Jim Jarmusch does, but I love a lot about everything that he does.
he's the director.
He wrote and directed it.
Uh-huh.
I think I came away from it realizing, because this film is primarily about poetry, in the way that it's told and in the content, and I think it just made me think back on all the other Jim Jarmusch films I've seen and thought, oh gosh, there was William Blake and Dead Man, and there's all of these like highlights of poetry in the content and in the way the stories are told too. That just felt like a through line almost of his work.
Yeah, this is the first Jim Jarmusch film I believe I've seen, and I enjoyed it. It was very subtle and like a little slice of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with slice of life. I picked kind of reflective poetry because it felt like, and observational, it felt like just a lot of observation on the everyday minutia of life, of you seeing this guy's routine and hearing the birds that were in the neighborhood that day, or hearing the sirens whirring by. And it was visually poetic with some of the things that you might be noticing in your day-to-day life when you're looking at the way that the sun hits the wall, or the view that you see as you're getting out of bed. And it was also a romantic film. I really liked the relationship between the couple. It kind of just showed their like sweet little moment every morning when they'd wake up together, and that was very endearing to me. So I feel like this could be a really good Valentine's Day weekend film if you would just want to come and watch something that's thoughtful and sweet and reflective.
Mm-hmm. I liked how a lot of the scenes felt like almost like little vignettes. Like they were just like framed in such a way where it was almost like little mini plays. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the dialogue in his films doesn't feel to me very natural, but because with this film it was with the lens of it being sort of seeing the world maybe how a poet would, or choosing those words, it almost made sense that the dialogue felt more deliberate maybe, or more like it was someone had written as a poem almost in the dialogue. Yeah.
One of the small things that I heard on an NPR interview that I liked was that the writer of the film is also kind of a poet, and there are some parallels in his life to the life of Paterson, where he also kind of has this secret notebook that he writes poetry in but doesn't really share it. And so he had talked a little bit about that scene within a scene where, oh, is it a spoiler if I say?
Probably.
Okay. I'm not going to give you the spoiler, but I almost did. But there's parallels between the filmmaker's life and then even within the film of characters relating to one another that have maybe this artistic sense and are not quite sharing it with the world, but there's a lot of beauty there, and I liked that. I also, can we talk about like something that happened on the screen as far as like a choice with text? Is that a spoiler?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So I was a little bit surprised at first that the poetry appeared in text on the screen. At first I kind of didn't like it, and then I really enjoyed it because usually poetry is consumed as written word, and so it was interesting hearing the writer kind of, you could hear him mulling over the choice words as he was writing poetry, but you could also see it on the screen, which for me just helped me digest it a little bit more and find more of the poetry and the meaning in it. So that was a creative choice, I think.
Yeah.
How'd you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I like that. I also noticed that there was such a lack of technology in their relationships and in their day-to-day routines. Mm-hmm. There were no or very few cell phones, or even there wasn't even a
TV.
digital clock or a TV,
Yeah.
and I was just like felt like a breath of fresh air. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, right. You could just sit and have a quiet evening, and nothing's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're not upset. You're just being quiet, and that's amazing. I think it was a little bit inspiring. Of like, oh right, it's as easy as putting my phone down, or it's as easy
as you're probably watching this on your phone or
Yes.
laptop.
I appreciated that about the film a lot because in my life I've been trying to embrace more simplicity and find that life where you're just enjoying the moment by moment. And I think this film was just a really good depiction of what that can look like for an individual and for a couple. I also love that he didn't have a smartphone because I'm one of those few people in the universe that still doesn't have a smartphone. And
I don't think he even had a phone.
Yeah, he did.
No.
I'm a little better than that, but I appreciated the choice.
What do you guys think of the actors?
Adam Driver was great in it. He is great at subtlety, which I had forgotten watching Star Wars.
You don't see a lot through the mask.
Yeah, one of the things that was striking, Adam Driver was a really great actor. I loved some of his expressions. It felt very organic with his responses to his wife. Just the little expressions he would have is you could see his choices to just try to make her happy and not always tell her that like dinner wasn't great, or maybe she was just really eccentric and unique, but he loved that about her, and just seeing him respond to that. There's also something that was to me kind of striking on the screen. I read in a review, like, you know, the acting was amazing, and that Driver is kind of like a non-movie star face, like a non-Hollywood face. And at first it kind of seemed like a mean comment, but just because you're trying to say like, oh, he's not as glamorous or something. But I think it really fit with the theme of the film of just like everyday slice of life. This guy's just a normal guy, you know, riding the bus, being a poet, having
dreams.
Yeah.
I also liked how it really felt like a movie about a place. And even some of the characters were sort of obsessed with famous people from that town, and that particular town. I think it was Costello that was from there, and a few other poets and things like that. And so I think it kind of just shows that sometimes maybe we idealize, like, oh, this town or this, you know, neighborhood in New York, that's where art happens, or whatever thing, but realizing that art happens just on a daily basis in very quiet places, and usually with very quiet people. And just, I think that can happen anywhere. It can be incubated anywhere. And I think it was just a good depiction of like, here's a little town where here's all these people came from, and but it's still just a little town, and it, you know, isn't showy about it.
Great. So is there a discussion this week?
There is not.
No.
There's
no,
not.
there are a couple in the works.
I was like,
There have been a couple that we've been trying to get scheduled. Keep an eye out on our website, actually, grandcinema.com. There's a chance that we'll be doing one on Saturday evening for this film, but it is not confirmed yet. But as soon as it gets confirmed, we'll put it out there. It's definitely a great film to talk about, I think, especially if you have interest in writing or poetry of any kind. It's a good reflection on that, I think.
most definitely.
Yeah. Great. We all give it a thumbs up, yeah?
Come see it. It's endearing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It could be a great date movie.
Yeah.
Definitely.
See you next week
Signing
when
off.
we review
Tony Erdmann?
That one.
Yeah,
Yes.
Tony Erdmann,
It's
which
gonna
is
be-
nominated for Best Foreign Film. So
And really bizarre stills out there, so I'm looking forward to some laughs from that one. See you later.
bye.
Thanks for tuning in.